Hi guys, Crystal here from ChristaCoDesign. Today I'm going to work up the grit stitch, and I have a swatch here that I made in cotton yarn. It's a number 4 worsted weight yarn. I love how the cotton really shows that stitch definition. This is from Joann's Big Twist cotton yarn. You can use any yarn and hook to do this stitch. I'm using medium yarn and my number 4 hook, because I want my fabric to be close together, not with a lot of holes. We have some skip stitches here, and you can see how it creates a nice, I don't want to say dense fabric because it's not heavy, but it's not holey. If you use a larger hook, you'll have like a lot of nice drape, but you will have a little bit more hole space in between everything. Okay, so a yarn and hook that go together. So if you were doing like number 6 yarn, you would just use a hook that goes with that, like an 8mm, 9, or 10. Got a little bit of yarn here and my copper yarn bowl to keep it from rolling off. I'm going to show you what we'll use the stitch markers for. These are not necessary, but they are very helpful with these kind of stitches. Okay, so that's supplies. For the grit stitch, we are working with a stitch multiple that is an odd number. So like 1, 3, 5, 7, 17. And then we need 2 more that will get skipped when we start actually crocheting. So it's a stitch multiple of an odd number plus 2. So for the purposes of this tutorial, I'll just do a small number of stitches so you don't have to watch me do it overly much. We'll start with the slip knot, and then I'm going to chain my odd number 1, 2, 3. I am chaining a little looser than my hook. I don't love crocheting into chains, so I try to keep them a little loose so they're easy to work that hook back into. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 is an odd number. I'm going to add 2 more because I will skip those 2 when I start working. So I have chained 13 for this sample. Okay, so for row 1, I am going to skip these first 2 and go into the 3rd chain. You'll notice I turned my chain over. I'm going to work under this back loop on the chain, and I'm going to start with a double crochet. So yarn over, insert under that back loop, and make a double crochet. Okay, so these skip chains that we skipped are here and here, and those are going to count as my first stitch in this stitch pattern. So I'm just going to mark them because the more I work into this chain, the harder that's going to be to see. So now I'm going to skip the next chain, and I'm going to work a single crochet and a double crochet under this next one. Okay, now I'm going to keep repeating that set across, and so I'll skip the next chain and then work a single crochet and a double crochet into the next chain. I'll just keep repeating that until I only have 2 chains left. Skip 1, work a single and a double. There we go. So I can work one more set here. And then I only have 2 chains left, so I'm going to skip that chain and just place 1 single crochet in the last chain. There we go. So counting back my stitches, remember I chained 13 to start. So now I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, if I am counting this chain 2 that we skipped as a stitch. So I have 11 stitches. That is my first row. Next row I'm turning here and chain 1 to start. This chain 1 is going to count as a single crochet, meaning we're going to count it in our stitches, but we're also going to work into it. So like my starting chain, I'm going to make it a little bit looser than I might normally with a 4mm hook. After I crochet in my next stitch, I'm going to mark this one so that I can see it. So I'm working into the same stitch, which means this very first one here that my chain is coming off, and I'm going to make a double crochet. Okay, so then I have 2 stitches to start, the chain 1 that counts as a single crochet and my double crochet, because our stitch pattern calls for 2 stitches in 1. Now I'm going to repeat that across. I'm going to skip this stitch, and then I'm going to single crochet and double crochet in this single crochet. Going back into the same stitch, double crochet, there we go. Now I'll keep repeating, skip the double crochet, work into the single crochet. Okay. Keep repeating that across until we have 2 stitches left. 1, 2, marked here by the end. I like the mark because it tells me what's what here at the end. The chains and beginning and endings can be a little confusing, even for seasoned crocheters. So we'll skip this double crochet, and into this chain 2 space we are going to single crochet. Sometimes this is called a chain 2 space, sometimes it's called the skip chain, sometimes it's called the turning chain. There's lots of names that we can use for it. So we're working in the turning chain and calling the turning chain a stitch for the stitch pattern. Okay, so that's row 2, and that is actually going to be our repeat for the length of this stitch pattern. So I'm going to work up another row for you, but that's it. It is a 1 row repeat. So now I'm turning. I'm starting with the chain 1 loosely, which will count. I'm going to double crochet back into that same single crochet stitch, skip 1, single crochet, double crochet in the same stitch, skip 1, single crochet, double crochet in the same stitch, and keep repeating that until I have 2 stitches left. And then you can see again, I guess my attention got loose on that one, how that stitch marker works. So here we have our 2 stitches left, and if you didn't know to look for that chain 1 or that turning chain at the end, even though we made it looser, it may look like we only have 1 stitch left, or it may be hard to find or see. So we're skipping the double crochet, and right here where that chain is, we're placing our last ending single crochet. You can remove your stitch marker before you work into it. So I would remove it and put it in my first chain 1 that I made here so that we can see that one. And I just keep doing that until my eye got really used to looking for it, and then I would stop. So that is how you work the grit stitch. It's just a 1 row repeat with single crochet and double crochet in the same stitch and a skip stitch in between. The start and finishes are probably the trickiest part. You can see here I worked up a full, what is this, 6x6 swatch here. How beautiful that stitch pattern works up. It's so nice. I also use this stitch pattern in the Trentino pillow, and there's a little bit of color work in it, so it makes really nice color changes as well. Okay, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the grit stitch and that you get to make lots of fun things with it.